Welcome to American Legion Baseball out here at Bullcoat Park in Stevens Point. Stevens Point Sixers, post 6 versus Plover.
For post 6 tonight on the mound.
543 post number.
Dan Portson.
And Jesse Hamas is warming up on the mound for the Sixers. This has been a rivalry game for a lot of years, and Plover, according to Coach Terpstra, is ready to challenge for the league title in the Southern Division, and Post 6 has been winning titles for the last few years.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Plover is 1-0 in the Southern Division, 4-2 overall, and Post 6 is 2-0 in the conference and 2-2 overall so far this year. It's a beautiful night for a ball game. Temperature in the 80s, not a cloud in sight, and we're ready to bring you the action in what should be a very good ball game from Bullcoat Park. Okay, leading off for the Plover Black Sox is Hod Smith, the second baseman. We don't have any batting averages. It's early in the year for the Legion teams, and Hod takes a called strike from Jesse Hamas. Defensively, we have Jamie Holzer at third, Brian Oles at short, Shannon Lester at second, Scott Hawley at first, Kevin Sullivan in left, Brian Nelson in center, and Nate Bolton in right. Hod swings and misses, and the count is 1 ball and 2 strikes on the leadoff hitter for Plover. Called strike 3 for out number 1. Brings to bat shortstop Ryan Kudrowski. This is almost an inter-squad game between Spash players. There's a lot on each team, and most of the Plover Black Sox players are juniors that will be back for next year. And if I were to go out on the limb early, I would say they will win their 10th consecutive conference championship. There's a lot of good players there. And on the Sixers are most of the senior players that have played for Spash for 3 years and also for the Legion. Kudrowski 1-1. Pitch is taken for strike 2. Senior Jesse Hamas. I say senior, I should say third year for the Sixers. And Kudrowski hits one down the left field line. It's a fair ball. It's a base hit. Kevin Sullivan over to cut it off and throw into second base, holding Kudrowski to a single. I neglected to mention Dan Portson behind the plate for the Sixers. He's been there for 3 years. Does a great job of catching. Sam Krieger, the batter. Sam, the Black Sox third baseman, came through big time in the state tournament up in Wausau in the semifinal game with a home run and a double just barely missed being a second home run. He hits one toward right. Nate Bolton is there to make the grab. It's for out number 2. Krieger hit it well, but
left fielder
Bolton was
Greg
right there to grab it.
Sass.
Greg Sass. Cleanup hitter, the left fielder. For Plover, runner on first, 2 outs. Kudrowski with a good lead. And he's running, and Portson couldn't get the ball out of his glove in time, and Kudrowski steals second base. Stolen base for Ryan Kudrowski. Kedro will be counted on heavily by Coach George Roman next year. 2 out, runner on second, 1 ball on Greg Sass. Greg hits one high toward center field. Brian Nelson moves back a few steps and makes a grab for out number 3. And in the inning for Plover, no runs on 1 hit, 1 man left on, and the score as the Sixers come to bat is 0-0. In the bottom of the first for the Stevens Point Sixers, Brian Olds is leading off, the shortstop. Brian pitched a great 9-inning game against Wisconsin Rapids the other night. Defensively for the Black Sox, we have Jeff Weinkoff on the mound. Jeff was a mainstay on the mound for Spash during the school year. Had a victory in the state tournament up in Wausau. Pitched, I believe it was about 6 1/3 innings and did a fine job. Olds fakes a bunt. We have Mike Broughton catching, Wayne Sankey at first, Hod Smith at second, Ryan Kodrowski at short, Sam Krieger at third, Greg Sass in left, Nick Wallen in center, and Scott Markowski in right. And Brian Olds has 2 balls on him, 2-0. Pitch taken for a strike. 2-1 on shortstop Brian Olds. Facing left-hander Jeff Weinkoff. Olds swings and fouls the ball back. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Beautiful night for a game. The fans are still trickling in. Bank 1 night here at Buchholz Park, Stevens Point. Olds hits one foul down the third baseline. Count remains at 2-2. We're in the bottom of the first. Post 6 under first-year coach Kyle Polk. Pitch in the dirt. Count is 3-2. Brian Nelson on deck for the Sixers. Olds hits one down towards third. Throw over to first base in time for out number 1. Krieger to Sankey.
Center fielder, Brian Nelson.
I've said this before, but Brian Olds is a good leadoff hitter because he takes a lot of pitches, and that time he ran the count to 3-2, which is a very good attribute of a leadoff hitter. The more pitches you can take to give your teammates a chance to look at pitches, the better. American Legion Baseball at Buchholz Park. Darryl Hawley and Bill Nelson bringing you the game tonight. Nelson, the batter, swings, hits one slow down toward third, and beats it out for a base hit. Ball was hit slow toward third. Sammy Krieger charged it, but his throw to first was not in time. Brings up third baseman Jamie Holzer. Jeff Weinkoff has a very, very fine pickoff move to first. I'm sure we're going to see it early here. Jamie Holzer, the batter. Nelson on first. Throw is to first, and Nellie's back. Jeff picked a couple of players off in the state tournament. Pitch to Holzer is high for ball 1. 1 ball and no strikes on third baseman Jamie Holzer, with teammate Brian Nelson at first and 1 out in the bottom of the first. There's another throw to first. Nelson back. Those first 2 moves were not Jeff's best. When he goes after the pickoff, he's got a very good move to first. He's trying to keep the runner close. Holzer takes ball 2. It's 2-0. Called strike. 2 balls, 1 strike. Third baseman Jamie Holzer. Pitcher Jeff Weinkoff will be the mainstay of the staff for Coach George Roman next year for Spash. Came on very fine this year. He's also a good hitter. Didn't have a lot of at-plate opportunities this year, but I'm sure he will next year. 2-2 on Holzer. Nelson is going. Pitch is hit down toward first. Wayne Sankey grabs it, steps on the bag, and Nelly goes to second. 2 outs, runner on second, and cleanup hitter Scott Hawley, the batter.
First baseman Scott Hawley.
Scott playing first base tonight. I was here early for batting practice, and Scott hit 5 of them out of the ballpark. Bing, 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 just like that. But I'm sure Jeff Weinkoff will have something to do with that now. Takes the first pitch for a ball. 1 ball. On first baseman Scott Hawley. Mike Broughton, the catcher, flashing the signal. Pitch is taken for ball 2. 2 balls and no strikes. Gary Spencer and Randy Bloom umping tonight. As Scott Hawley takes strike 1. 2 balls and 1 strike. 2 outs in the bottom of the first for the Sixers. Cleanup hitter Scott Hawley. Pitch taken. 3 balls, 1 strike. Three and 1 on cleanup hitter Scott Hawley. There's a fake throw to second by Weinkoff. Runner's back. Count remains at 3 and 1. Hawley swings and fouls it back. Runs the count to 3 and 2. Shannon Lester on deck for the Sixers. Second baseman. Jeff Weinkoff on the mound for the Black Sox. Scott Hawley takes called strike 3, and the inning is over for the Sixers. No runs on 1 hit, and the score after 1 is 0-0. Leading off for the Plover Black Sox in the top of the second is catcher Mike Broughton. Facing Jesse Hamas. Jesse went 15 and 1 in his 2-year career with Spash. His only defeat was the last game at the state tournament up in Wausau. Pitched a very nice ball game. Threw only 71 pitches, and it just was one of those games where you got 2 good teams playing and somebody wins and somebody loses. But a very nice career for Jesse Hamas. 2 balls and no strikes on Mike Broughton. Leading off for the Black Sox. Takes ball 3. 3 and 0. Coach Craig Terpstra at third, giving signals in his 4th year at the helm, and we congratulate him for recently being named the girls' high school smash basketball coach for this coming season. I'm sure he'll do a fine job. Count is now 3-2 on Mike Broughton. Defense remains the same for the Sixers. Kyle Polk watching on anxiously for the Sixers in his first year. Comes to the Sixers with a very fine coaching reputation. The assistant coach of the Pointer baseball program. Mike Broughton draws a walk to lead off the second for the Plover Black Sox.
The pitcher, Jeff Weinkoff.
Jeff Weinkoff now the batter. Left-handed batter. Runner on first and nobody out for Plover. Weinkoff bunts the ball. Very nice bunt. Throw to first is not in time. And Jeff beats it out for a base hit. Moves Mike Broughton over to second base. That was a very nice bunt by Jeff. He got out of the box quick and beat it out for a hit. And that puts runners on first and second for Plover.
First baseman,
With
Wayne
nobody
Sankey.
out, brings up Wayne Sankey, the first baseman. Okay, Wayne Sankey the batter. Mike Broughton on second, Jeff Weinkoff on first, facing Jesse Hamas. Nobody out for the Black Sox. Sankey squares up the bunt, pulls back. Pitch is called a ball, 1 ball.
Right there, Scott.
1 ball and no strikes. And Wayne Sankey. Craig Sankey, the DH, is the next batter. Pitch is taken high for ball 2, and the throw from catcher Dan Portson down to second base is not in time to catch Mike Broughton. If there was anything that got Jesse in trouble this past year for Spash, it was that he would have periods where he just couldn't find the strike zone. He's now 2-0 on Wayne Sankey. Wayne squares around. Pitch is taken.
Come on, Jess, come on.
Ball 3. 3 balls and no strikes on Wayne Sankey.
No, Jess, come on. Focus in now.
First and second, nobody out. 3-0 on Sankey. Pitch is taken for a strike. 3 balls and 1 strike on the Plover first baseman. Scott Hawley in for a possible bunt. Sankey hits one through for a base hit. 1 run is going to score. And Jeff Weinkoff goes around to third. Base hit by Wayne Sankey. Scores 1 run and moves the runner to another runner to third.
Craig Sankey.
And we now have 1 run in for Plover with nobody out and runners on first and third, and designated hitter Craig Sankey the batter. Craig's been hitting the ball very well for Plover so far this year. Wayne Sankey on first, Jeff Weinkoff on third. First pitch is taken for a ball. 1 ball and no strikes. Craig Sankey is the designated hitter for Scott Markowski. Pitch taken for a strike. 1 ball and 1 strike. Outfield fairly shallow for the Sixers. There's a swing and a miss by Craig Sankey. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Jesse Hamas on the mound. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Craig Sankey. Pitch is a swing and a miss for strike 3.
All right, Fox, turn it now.
And we have 1 out. Runners remain on first and third. Nick Wallen, the center fielder, number 9 hitter in the Black Sox lineup, is up there with a chance to do some damage. First pitch is taken for a ball. Score is 1-0 in favor of Plover in the top of the second inning. On a beautiful night for a game. No mosquitoes is probably the best part. Ball 2 on Nick Wallen. Pitch was bunted. The squeeze was on. Weinkauf was coming in with the pitch. Wallen bunted it, but it was foul. It's 2 balls, 1 strike. I'm sure Craig Terpstra will do anything in his power to get a run in. There's a ball hit out into short right field. The right fielder, Nate Bolton's there. The throw into the plate. Nice catch and a nice throw by Nate Bolton. There are now 2 outs. Runners had to hold. And it brings up the leadoff hitter.
Second baseman, Hod Smith.
Hod Smith is the batter who struck out his first time up. Hod from Almond Bancroft and been a good athlete out there for 3 years. Hod Smith up for Plover. 2 outs, runners on first and third, and 1 run in so far for Plover. Pitch was inside, and the umpire said the ball did hit him, so Hod Smith takes first base on a hit by pitch. So that brings the bases loaded.
Kedrowski.
Ryan Kedrowski, the batter. Kedro had a base hit his first time up for the Black Sox. Swing and a miss for strike 1. Hamas has got to bear down here. You don't want to get behind too far early in the game. Kedrowski hits one, grabbed by Scott Hawley and taken by himself for out number 3 on a very nice play by Scott Hawley. So in the second inning for Plover, they score 1 run and they have 2 base hits. They left the bases loaded, and the score with the Sixers coming to bat in the second is 1-0 Plover. Leading off for the Stevens Point Post 6 Sixers is Shannon Lester, second baseman, facing Jeff Weinkauf. First pitch is swung on and hit, gloved by Sammy Krieger, but thrown high to first. And Lester is on his way to second, in the second with nobody out. It was an error on the play by Sammy Krieger. The ball was hit high. Krieger jumped, made the grab, but he threw high to first, and Lesser hustled around the bag and made her to second base.
Come on, Port.
Dan Portson now the hitter, with teammate Shannon Lester on second with nobody out. Sam Krieger he made a nice play on the last ball, but he just hurried to throw just a little bit, and it was over the first baseman's head. The first pitch by Portson is taken for a ball. The second pitch hits him, and Danny will be awarded first base. Dan Portson on first, Shannon Lester on second, and Kevin Sullivan.
Have a steal third. Come on. Take it on him.
Left fielder Kevin Sullivan from Pacelli. Had a nice year over there. Takes the first pitch for ball one.
Get a lead. Get a lead.
Ball is bunted toward third. Krieger in, but not able to make the play, and the bases are now loaded. Nate Bolton, the right fielder, the batter for the Sixers, finds himself up there with the bases loaded and nobody out. Chance to do some damage. Junior Jeff Weinkoff on the mound. I shouldn't say junior Jeff Weinkoff. He's now a senior for Spash, and I gotta quit referring to the grades. First pitch is a called strike. One strike.
Come on, Nate.
Second pitch is a called strike two. Two good pitches by Weinkoff. Bolton taken, finds himself in the hole, two strikes. Ball's hit high chopper towards second. Throw over to first for the out, and a run scores on the play. And that ties the ball game at 1-1. Runners advance to second and third.
Hitter, Kenny Opiola.
Ken Opiola, the batter, the designated hitter for pitcher Jesse Hamas. Opiola starts some games for the Sixers and has been DHing and has made good contact so far this year. Brother of Bob Opiola, who was a good player for the Legion last year, and he responds with a base hit. And two-run score for Spash. A clutch base hit by Kenny Opiola, driving in two runs. Makes the score 3-1 in favor of the Sixers. Opiola's hit right over the first base bag,
Leadoff man,
and
shortstop.
both
Brian
runners from second and third scored on the play, and Opiola's on first base. Still, well, there is one out. Opiola on first. Brian Oles, the batter. Olsey was a ground out victim his first time up. Jeff Weinkoff on the mound. Calls his catcher out. Brian Oles up there, batting for the Sixers, facing Jeff Weinkoff. Teammate Ken Opiola on first base. Ken with a clutch hit, driving in two runs. We're in the second inning, third inning, I should say. Second inning, bottom of the second inning, excuse me. 1 ball and 1 strike. Shortstop Brian Oles. 3 runs in for the Sixers. Opiola was off and running on a pitch, and Oles fouled it down third. Count is 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Come on now, buddy. Get on it now.
Infield, outfield remains the same for Plover. Olds swings and hits one down toward second. Throw to second for one and safe at first. There was a force out at second base for out number one, or out number two. And Brian Olds beat it out.
Good job,
Center
Kenny.
fielder Brian Nelson.
So
This
there,
is your major leagues. Make them hold the bag.
there are now one runner on first base. Brian Nelson, the batter, with 2 outs. Nelly with a base hit, his first time up. 3-1 Sixers in the bottom of the second. First pitch is taken for a ball. Jamie Holzer on deck. Pitch is taken for a strike, but Brian Olds steals second base.
There he is, Brian. Come on.
So there is a runner in scoring position for the Sixers in the name of Brian Olds. And Brian Nelson is trying to get him in. There's 1 ball and 1 strike. Olds with his lead at second. Pitch is fouled back. 1 ball and 2 strikes on the Sixers center fielder. People still filtering into the ball game.
Come on, Nelly.
There's a ball hit into right field for a base hit by Nelson. Gets by the right fielder. The runner, Brian Olds, scores, and Brian Nelson into second base.
Good job, guys. Oldie.
The ball was hit between first and second, and the right fielder just wasn't able to come up with the ball. And Nelson took second, and Brian Olds scored. So that makes the score 4-1 in favor of the Sixers. Jamie Holzer, the batter. Brian Nelson leads off second base. Holzer takes the first pitch for a ball. Jamie was a short to first out in the first inning. Jamie headed for Oshkosh this next fall and to join the powerful Oshkosh baseball program that's been so successful over the last years, winning the Division III World Series this year.
Darryl, you want this? Bill? Or Ginger got it?
Holzer hits one. It's gloved by Wayne Sankey at first and throws over to Jeff Weinkoff, covering first base for the out, number 3. But in the inning, the Sixers come up with 4 runs on 2 base hits, and after 2, they lead 4-1. Sam Krieger leading off in the top of the third for post 543 in Plover. Jesse Hamas on the mound. Krieger flew out to right field his first time up. Takes first pitch for a ball. 1 ball and no strikes. Krieger can play a lot of positions, as well as most players on both of these teams. It's a second pitch off the end of the bat for a foul. It's 1 ball and 1 strike.
Bend over, Paul.
Bill Lester giving Coach Paul Wade some words of encouragement over on first.
That wasn't this. Yeah, I gotta realize you're a beer chaser.
2 balls and 1 strike on Sam Krieger.
Well, you should just go now. Come on, Hammer. Pretty good, buddy.
Pitch is taken by Krieger for ball 3. 3-1. The Plover top of the third find themselves behind 4-1. Both teams with 3 hits. Krieger hits one down towards Brian Oles at short. Oles with a quick throw to Scott Hawley at first for out number 1. Cleanup hitter Greg Sass is at the plate. He flew out to center field his first time up. Greg with a lot of power. Spent a lot of the time this year for Stevens Point High School as a DH. Played some right field and probably will do some catching next year. 2 strikes, no balls. Left fielder Greg Sass. A swing and a miss for strike 3. There's 2 outs. Brings the bat catcher Mike Broughton. Mike drew a base on balls and scored the only Black Sox run.
Mike Broughton.
Back in the second inning. Pitch taken for a ball 1 by catcher Mike Broughton. 1-0. Pitch in the dirt for ball 2. We're in the Plover top of the third. 4-1, Stevens Point at this stage of the game.
Come on, Hammer, again, hit it.
Pitch taken for ball 3. 3 straight balls taken by Mike Broughton. 3-0. Hamas comes in with a called strike. 3 balls and 1 strike. Most of these players on both teams came through the Plover Little League program that's been so successful over the past years. And Mike Broughton was one of them, and he takes ball 4 for a base on balls.
Come on, Hammer, come on, buddy.
Keeps the inning alive for Plover as Broughton finds himself on first with 2 outs.
Don't let him punch it down there.
Brings up Jeff Weinkoff, the pitcher.
Who's Sully over?
Weinkoff hit one over third the last time up, and he lines one hard foul down the first base line for a strike. One strike on Jeff Weinkoff. Hamas delivers, pitch taken. Ball 1, 1-1. Outfield straight away, infield at their normal positions. Weinkoff takes high for ball 2. 2 balls and 1 strike. 2 outs for Plover in the top of the third. Mike Broughton at first base. Pitcher Jeff Weinkoff batting. Takes pitch for ball 3. 3-1.
Come on, Jeff. Come on, Jeff.
3-1 on Jeff Weinkoff. Pitch taken high for ball 4. Puts runners on first and second for Plover in the third. Wayne Sankey, the batter. Wayne had a base hit his first time up.
Hammer, relax out there.
First baseman Wayne Sankey.
Let your defense help you, Hammer.
First and second, 2 outs. Wayne Sankey, the first baseman, the batter. Wayne takes the first pitch for a ball.
At the waist, Jess.
Wayne, a good hitter. Has some power, Has a
Trying to talk to him there, coach.
takes a second pitch for ball 2.
You can do her, Hammer. Come on now.
2-0 on Wayne Sankey as Dan Portson went out a minute ago to chat with his pitcher. Pitch taken for ball 3. 3-0.
Hammer, you gotta want it, buddy.
First and second, 2 outs, and Sankey takes a strike. It's now 3-1.
Like that, Hammer. Just like that, buddy.
Pitch taken inside for ball 4, and Wayne Sankey goes to first base on a base on balls. Loads the bases up for Craig Sankey. Craig is a designated hitter for Scott Markowski. A strikeout victim his first time up.
For that slap now.
Finds himself up there with 2 outs and the bases loaded and a chance to get the Plover back in the ball game. The ball was hit hard toward Scott Hawley. Scott gloved it, picked it up through to Jesse Hamas covering first for out number 3, and the inning is over, and Plover scored. Did not score and had no base hits, and the score remains 4-1 Stevens Point. Leading off for the post 6 Sixers is Scott Hawley, the first baseman. Scott was called out on strikes his first time at bat. Facing Jeff Weinkoff, he hits the ball hard down toward the second baseman. Fielded very cleanly and thrown over to first for the out, for out number 1. Hod Smith on a nice play. Brings to bat Shannon Lester. Shannon reached first on an error.
Lester.
His first time up.
Do now, Shan.
1 out and nobody on. Lester takes ball 1. Jeff Weinkoff has thrown quite a few pitches so far in this ball game. Lester hits one high toward right field.
Run it out, buddy.
Right fielder is there to make the grab. Scott Markowski.
Go, Port.
Dan Portson, the batter.
Come on, Port.
Dan was hit by a pitch his first time up and scored a run, as did Shannon Lester score a run his first time up. Portson takes first pitch for a ball. 1 ball and no strikes. 2 outs, nobody on for the Sixers in the bottom of the 3rd.
Yeah, Port.
Portson takes ball 2, 2-0. Called strike.
Big one, Dan. Big one.
2 balls, 1 strike on catcher Dan Portson. Pitch inside, 3-1.
Here we go, Port.
Pitch taken for a strike. Count is full, 3-2. 2 outs and nobody on. Bottom of the 3rd. Catcher Dan Portson hits the ball on the ground. Nice play by the first baseman Wayne Sankey, and he beats the runner to first base for out number 3. And in the inning, no runs, no hits, and the score remains 4-1 Stevens Point. Leading off for Plover is the number 9 hitter, Nick Wallen for Plover.
Come on, Jess, buddy.
Top of the 4th, facing Jesse Hamas. First pitch is fouled back for strike 1. Manager Craig Terpstra coaching at 3rd, and Paul Wade, who finished his first year of schooling down at Carthage, is over at first base.
Pitch, Hammer.
2 strikes. 2 strikes on Nate Wallen. Pitch taken for a ball. 1-2.
Look closer than that, Hammer.
Jesse Hamas on the mound for the Sixers. And Nick Wallen takes a called strike 3 for out number 1, which will bring up the leadoff hitter, Hod Smith.
Top of the order, second baseman Hod.
Smith was a strikeout victim, and he was hit by a pitch his first time up. He's up there with 1 out and nobody on. Curve strike. 1 strike on Hod Smith. Two strikes. Smith tried to hold up, but found himself going a little too far for a called strike, so 2 strikes. Pit 1 ball and 2 strikes. Swing and a miss for strike 3.
Ryan Kadrusky.
Hod Smith is a strikeout victim for the second time tonight, and brings up Ryan Kadrusky, who has a base hit to his credit. Finds himself up there with 2 outs and nobody on. Takes the first pitch for a ball.
Good now, Hammer.
Second pitch is high for ball 2. And shortstop Ryan Kadrowski.
Here we go, Hammer.
Three balls and no strikes. Kedro found himself doing a lot of courtesy running this year for Spash. He is a good base runner with some good speed. He's also a fine hitter, but just wasn't able to crack the lineup this year, but he draws a walk in this game, and he finds himself at first base with 2 outs.
Third
And
baseman
Sam Krieger is the batter. Krieger 0 for 2 so far today. Third baseman Sam Krieger. Up there for Plover. First pitch is a curveball called strike 1. Sam with that wonderful day in the state tournament, I'll never forget that. With that home run he hit and that second shot that he hit that was almost another home run, ended up being a double. It was 2 of the 4 hits that Spash got in that state tournament game. He's up there for Plover right now with 1 ball and 1 strike. Kadrowski at first. Krieger hits the ball down towards Brian Oles at short. Oles with a long throw to first. Scott Hawley with the catch, and it's out number 3. No runs, no hits. And with the Sixers coming to bat in the bottom of the 4th, the score is 4-1 Sixers.
left fielder Kevin.
Bottom of the
Sullivan.
4th inning for Stevens Point. Kevin Sullivan leading off. Sixer left fielder. Reached first on an error. His first time up and scored a run. Hits the ball down on the ground to the short. Throw over to Wayne Sankey at first for out number 1. 1 pitch and 1 out for Jeff Weinkoff in the bottom of the 4th.
Right fielder Nate Bolton.
Most of the players on both of these teams have gone through that Plover program, and it's a real tribute to the success they've had over the years. Second pitch is hit towards second, but not fielded, and Nate Bolton,
The designated hitter
gets a hit.
Kenny Opiola.
the ball was hit toward second baseman Hod Smith, which could have been fielded, but it wasn't, and The official score results in a base hit for Nate Bolton, so he finds himself on first. And Kenny Opiola, the designated hitter, is the batter who had a single and drove in 2 runs his first time up. One out and one on for the Sixers. Opiola swings and misses. Strike one. One strike on designated hitter Kenny Opiola. Batting for the pitcher Jesse Hamas. Takes ball 1, 1-1. Nate Bolton running at first for the Sixers has his lead. Opiola ready. Swing and a miss. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Kenny Opiola facing Jeff Weinkoff with 1 out and Nate Bolton on first. 1-2. Pitch is taken for a ball. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Come on, Ope.
This is definitely a steal position, and there Bolton steals second base. Full count on Kenny Opiola. Full count on Kenny Opiola. The pitch is taken high for ball 4. Puts runners on first and second for the Sixers with 1 out. Gary Kostahusky coaching at first base for the Sixers.
The arm's extended now.
Top the order.
Gary was an all-conference selection for the Stevens Point Pointer baseball team this past spring. And he also coached last year for the Sixers. Brian Oles, the batter, his 3rd time up. Scored a run. Back in the 2nd inning. Takes first pitch for a ball. There's a ball hit out into right field for a base hit. Nate Bolton comes in to score. And Brian Oles has himself a base hit and an RBI, and Kenny Opiola goes over to 3rd. Stevens Point now leads 5-1. Oles is now on first base. Opiola on 3rd. 1 out. Brian Nelson, the batter. Nelly with 2 base hits, 2 for 2 in this ball game. Takes a pitch for a ball. You wonder what's going through each of their minds. Brian the batter and Jeff the pitcher, as both are such good friends off the field and on the field when they're teammates. Nelly hits one high toward center field. Center fielder is back, makes the catch, but that will score a run. And Stevens Point now leads by a score of 6-1. Jamie Holzer, the batter. Holzer 0 for 2 in the ball game. Brian Oles on first. Ball gets away from the catcher, Mike Broughton, and Oles moves down to second base. 2 runs in for Spash here in the Bottom of the fourth. Brian Oles is on second. And Holzer batting with 2 outs. Just a beautiful night for a ball game out here at Buchholz Park in Stevens Point. Ball's hit kind of on a line by Holzer, but grabbed by the second baseman for out number 3. But in the inning, the Sixers come up with 2 runs and 2 base hits. And they lead the ball game 6-1. Greg Sass leading off for Plover in the top of the 5th. Greg was a flyout and a strikeout victim. First 2 times up. Takes the first pitch for a ball from Jesse Hummus. Defensively, the Sixers remain the same. Sass with a good cut and a little foul. Count is 1 ball and 1 strike. Left fielder Greg Sass, powerful left-handed batter, swings and misses. Count is 1 ball and 2 strikes. Swing and a miss for strike 3. 1 out for Plover in the top of the 5th. Brings to bat catcher Mike Broughton.
Catcher Mike Broughton.
Broughton has 2 base on balls so far and scored the only run for the Black Sox back in the 2nd inning.
Go right at him, Hammer.
Takes the first pitch for a ball.
Don't let him walk again, Hammer.
Sixers have 6 runs on 5 hits. And Plover has 1 run on 3 hits and 3 errors so far in the ball game. Broughton swings and misses. 1 ball and 1 strike. Pitch taken for a strike. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Number 5 hitter for Plover, Mike Broughton. Finds himself behind, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Jesse Hummus still on the mound.
No, he stuck his arm out. He stuck his arm out.
Pitch was inside and it hit Mike Broughton, so Mike moves down to first base. Jeff Weinkoff, the batter. Mike Broughton on first via being hit by a pitch.
Good job, Hammer.
Weinkoff with a base hit, his first time up, and a base on balls.
Pick him off.
He's pitched himself a very respectable game so far. Takes a second pitch for called strike. 2 strikes on the Plover pitcher. Swing and a foul. Hit down the first base line. 2 strikes on pitcher Jeff Weinkoff. Mike Broughton, Plover runner at first, has his lead. Pitch is taken outside for a ball. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Right-hander Jesse Hummus on the mound for the Sixers.
Come on, Hammer.
Pitch is high. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Go down, Hammer.
Swing and a miss by Weinkoff for strike 3. 2 outs for Plover and a runner on first. Bringing the bat, Wayne Sankey.
First baseman, Wayne Sankey.
Wayne with a base hit and a base on balls to his credit. Defense is the same that started the game for the Sixers. Portson catching and Holzer at third, Oles at short, Lester at second, Scott Hawley at first, Kevin Sullivan in left, Brian Nelson in center, and Nate Bolton in right. Pitch is hit hard down toward Brian Oles. Throw over to second, Shannon Lester for the force out for out number 3. For Plover, no runs and no hits. And we come to the bottom of the 5th with the Sixers leading 6-1. Scott Hawley leading off in the Stevens Point Sixer 5th inning. 0 for 2 so far for Scott. Scott hits the first pitch out towards center field. The center fielder is there and makes the grab.
Come on now. Come on, Les.
Nick Wallen looked like he had it all the way, and then the ball kind of drifted a little bit, but he made a nice grab. Shannon Lester, the batter. Lester reached base on an error his first time up, scored a run, and flew out. Jeff Weinkoff still on the mound for Plover.
Come on, Shannon, get dressed now. Come on now.
Shannon takes
In your zone now, Les. Come on, buddy.
called strike. 1 strike on the second baseman.
Your zone, Les. Your zone. Arms extended.
Second pitch gets by the catcher Mike Broughton and back to the screen. It's 1 ball and 1 strike. Pitch inside, 2 balls, 1 strike.
Come on, Les.
Ball 3. 3-1.
Waiting on it now, buddy. Waiting on it.
1 out for the Sixers in the bottom of the 5th. Lester takes ball 4. Ball gets by the catcher. Shannon Lester finds himself on first base with a base on balls. Brings up Dan Portson.
Portson.
Come on, Port. Here we go, Port.
Portson recognized as the premier catcher in the area and conference, and was hit by a pitch his first time up and grounded out his second time up. He's up there now with Lester on first. Throw back to first. Lester back. Jeff, being a teammate of Shannon's, knows that he's probably going to try to steal. So he wants to keep him close to the base. He throws another pitch over to first. Pitch is by the catcher, and Lester moves down to second. Makes the turn. And now Dan Portson has a chance to drive in a teammate. Manager Craig Terpstra went out to the mound to chat with his pitcher. There's a fake throw to second base, and Lester's back. There's been a few pitches that have gotten by Mike Broughton, and either there's been the signals weren't understood by the pitcher and the catcher, or whatever, but It's led to some extra base running. Portson takes a called strike. It's 2 balls and 1 strike. Kyle Polk with the signals. Lester steals third base without even having to slide. Shannon got a nice jump on that play and stole third, and with no doubt about it. Didn't have to slide at all. So now Portson with a fly ball could score, but he swings and misses for a strikeout. And that brings up Kevin Sullivan.
Left fielder, Kevin Sullivan.
Sully scored a run his first time up after reaching base on an error and grounded out his second time up. He's up there now with runner on third and 2 outs. Takes a good cut at the first pitch. Comes up empty for a strike. Jeff Weinkoff still on the mound for Plover. Second pitch is swung on and missed for strike 2. 2 strikes on Pacelli, left fielder, Kevin Sullivan. Ball's hit out toward right field. Nate Bolton is there and makes the grab for out number 3 in the inning. For Plover, no runs, no hits, 1 left.
No runs, no hits.
The score
1
remains
left.
6-1, Stevens Point. Designated hitter Craig Sankey leading off for the Black Sox in the top of the 6th inning. Good crowd out here at Cub Manchesky Park in Stevens Point. Craig takes ball 1. Jesse Hamas remains on the mound for the Sixers. Sankey swings and misses. 1 ball and 1 strike. 6-1 in favor of the Stevens Point Sixers over Plover. Swing and a miss for strike 2. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Post 543 of Plover taking on post number 6 of Stevens Point tonight. Good ball game. There's a swing and Craig Sankey tried to hold up but didn't in time, and he's called out on strikes. Nick Wallen, the number 9 hitter in the Plover lineup, is now the batter. Nick Wallen with a fly out and a strikeout so far tonight. He's up there with 1 out and nobody on. First pitch is taken for a strike. 1 strike on the center fielder, Nick Wallen. The ball hit foul over the first base dugout. 2 strikes. Jesse Hamas winding and throwing. The ball's hit down toward Brian Olds, and it goes through his legs, and Wallen ends up on first base via an error. Not very many of those go through Brian's legs or out of his reach, but just happened to be one of those times, and he shakes it off and is ready for the next one. Hod Smith, the batter. Hod is 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. I should say 0 for 2 because he was hit by a pitch in the second inning. Teammate Nick Wallen on first. Smith swings and foul ticks it for a strike. One strike on Hod Smith. Plover second baseman. Down to second goes Nick Wallen, but Dan Portson makes a perfect throw to second base, and it's out number 2. So now there's 2 outs and nobody on for Plover. 1-1 on Hod Smith. Nice throw by catcher Dan Portson. Was there in plenty of time to get the runner Nick Wallen. There's a ball hit down towards Scott Hawley at first. Scott takes it himself. It's 3 up and 3 down. The score remains 6-1. Nate Bolton leading off for the Sixers in the bottom of the 6th. Bunt attempt for a strike. Tony Ostring has moved out into left field for Plover, and Greg Sass has gone behind the plate. Jeff Weinkoff on the mound. Ball is hit down towards Sankey, and throw over to Weinkoff, covering first. And Bolton is called safe. I would say that looked like a bad call in my books. I thought Jeff was there and plenty of time and the throw was there, but hey, I'm not the umpire, so Bolton finds himself on first. Kenny Opiola, the batter. Number 9 hitter, the designated hitter for Jesse Hamas. Came through with a big 2-run base hit. His first time up. Hits the ball in the right field for another base hit. Nate Bolton goes to second. And the Sixers have runners on first and second with nobody out. And a leadoff hitter, Brian Oles, coming to the plate. Brian Oles, the batter. Runners on first and second, nobody out. Woolsey with a base hit his last time up. Scored a run so far this evening. Brian Oles with 1 ball, no strikes. Pitches high, gets away from Greg Sass. Runners advance to second and third. Greg Sass is a very fine catcher. He just has not had a lot of chances to play it during the high school career so far with Dan Portson ahead of him, but I'm sure next year that he will. Ball hit foul by Oles. 2 balls and 1 strike. Plover defense remains the same. Krieger at third, Kudrowski at short, Hod Smith at second, Wayne Sankey at first. Three balls and 1 strike. Pitch is taken high for ball 4. Brian Oles finds himself on first with a base on balls.
Center fielder, Brian Nelson.
Bases are loaded, nobody out. Brian Nelson, the batter, with 2 base hits and a sacrifice fly so far tonight, facing Jeff Weinkoff. There's a ball hit out towards second base. Gets through the second baseman. 1 runner scoring, 2 runs are scoring. And that was a ball that should have been fielded, but it just got away from Hod Smith, and 2 runs scored, and Nelson finds himself at first. And 2 runs have scored. Hod Smith is pretty sure fielding out there at second base, and that ball just got by him, and 2 runs scored for the Sixers, and score is now 8-1. Jamie Holzer, pitch is taken, and Nelly goes to second. 2 strikes on Jamie Holzer, the Sixer third baseman. Jeff Weinkauf is not pitched a bad game at all. It's just that there's been 5 errors so far. Not a lot of support at key times when you do need it if you're a pitcher. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Jamie Holzer. Ball's hit up in the air. Third baseman Sammy Krieger is there to make the grab. Out number 1.
Scott Hawley.
Come on, Scotty, out front now. Come on.
Olds on third, Nelson on second. Scott Hawley the batter. Scott 0 for 3 so far tonight. Pitch is taken for a ball. You wonder how many pitches that the manager, Craig Terpstra, is going to allow Jeff Weinkauf to throw. There are so many games and so many days for all of these Legion teams and he is the ace of the staff. There's no question about that. But he is throwing a lot of pitches now. Might be time for somebody else to come in. 8-1 is going to take something short of a miracle for Plover to get back in the game. But certainly it's possible in this game. 3 balls, no strikes on Scott Hawley. Pitch is taken for a strike. 3-1. Swing and a miss. 2 strikes. 3 balls and 2 strikes. First baseman Scott Hawley. Scott's had a lot of ground balls down toward him in this ball game. A new runner the next game. 3-2 on Scott Hawley. 2 runners on. Pitch is taken for a called strike 3. Nice curveball by Jeff Weinkauf.
Second baseman.
Scott didn't like the call, but
Lester.
it was a good pitch by Jeff.
Come on, Shannon, be aggressive now.
Shannon Lester, the batter. Lester was on a reach first on an air, flied out, and drew a base on balls and scored a run so far in this game. Takes the first pitch for a ball. One ball and no strikes. The second baseman, Shannon Lester. 2-0. Olds at third, Nelson at second. Dan Portson on deck. There's a ball hit high toward center field. Center fielder's there, makes the grab for out number 3. In the inning, 2 runs and 1 base hit. And the score after 6 innings is Stevens Point Sixers 8, Post 5-4-3 of Plover 1. Ryan Kodreski leading off in the 7th for the Black Sox. Ryan had a base hit his first time up, drew a walk his last time up. takes a called strike. Much to the disapproval of the Plover fans, which occupy the third base bleachers. Ball hit down towards second base. Lester over, makes the grab, throws over to Scott Hawley at first for out number 1. Sam Krieger, the batter. Sam is 0 for 3. Takes first pitch for a ball. 1 ball and no strikes. 8-1 in favor of the Stevens Point Sixers over the Plover Blackhawks. Black Sox, I should say. Sorry about that. Krieger takes a strike, 1-1. Number 3 hitter for Plover, Sam Krieger. 1 ball and 1 strike. Swing and a miss. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Jesse Hamas remains on the mound. Pitched a nice game so far. He's given up 3 hits. Pitch gets by Portson. He's taken for a ball. 2 balls and 2 strikes. One out and nobody on for Plover. The top of the 7th. Check swing. Strike. Throw down to first base for out number 2. Greg Sass, the batter. Cleanup hitter.
Greg Sass.
Greg flied out and it struck out twice. Pitch taken high for ball 1. 1-0. Left-handed hitting Greg Sass. 1 ball, hits one high towards center. Brian Nelson over to make the play and doesn't come up with it. It's ruled an error, and Greg Sass reaches first base. So Plover with a runner on first with 2 outs. Brings up Tony Ostring. Tony's first trip to the plate tonight. Pitch taken for a strike.
Fielder Tony Ostring, the batter.
1 strike on Tony. Swings and misses for strike 2. Tony also a very fine shortstop and does some pitching. Matter of fact, was put out a rally in the last game, I believe, for Plover against Wausau. Throws the ball very hard. Takes strike 3. So in the inning, for Plover, no runs and no hits, and the score remains Stevens Point 8, Plover 1. A good shot of the moon. Beautiful night out here at Cub Manchesky Field. We have a replacement for Plover at second base is Casey Brzeloski. Casey has good potential as a pitcher. He's a fine pitcher and saw a little bit of action on the varsity at Spash. And Dan Portson is a hitter, and Hits a ball foul for 2 strikes. 2 strikes and no balls on the veteran catcher. There's a pitch over the catcher's head, and again, I'm quite surprised that Jeff Weinkoff is still in the game, not because he's pitched so bad. He's thrown a lot of pitches. He's had very little support, and it's time. There's a lot of games to be played. No use wearing him out all in one night. Two and two on Dan Portson. Portson was hit by a pitch first time up and hits one down the right field line.
Go.
Base hit, trying for 2, and he's into second with a stand-up with a sliding double. If my memory serves me correctly, I think that's the first extra base hit of the game. Dan Portson with a double.
Running at second base, number 10, Sam Molsky. Molsky, the pinch runner.
Sam Molsky out at second now, running for Dan Portson.
Left fielder, Kevin Sullivan.
Sam's a fine player with a good arm, and I'm sure he'll find his way into the lineup. If not this year, certainly next year. Kevin Sullivan, the batter. Nobody out. Molsky on second. Sullivan 0 for 3 with a run score. It's a ball foul down the first base line. One strike on Kevin Sullivan, the Sixer left fielder. Sully hits another one foul.
Hey, Sully, come on now, 3-2.
Sully, the brother of Sean Sullivan, a former Pacelli great, went on to play at St. Norbert's College, some basketball, and still lives in the Stevens Point area and supports his brothers and Pacelli. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Kevin Sullivan, Sixer left fielder. Sully hits a ball high toward center field. Center fielder is there. Nick Wallen makes the grab. And Sam Molsky advances from second to third on the flyout. Chris Simonson is batting for the Sixers. Place of Nate Bolton. Chris swings and hits first pitch foul. Chris, one of the stellar pitchers on our staff this summer for the Legion. Standout performer for Pacelli during the spring. Finds himself with 1 strike. Matter of fact, Chris was the Conference Player of the Year for Pacelli this year. Takes strike 2. 2 strikes. One out. Sam Molsky on third. Pitch is taken outside for a ball. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Jeff Weinkoff remains on the mound. Simonson hits one high toward center field. Nick Wallen back to make the grab for out number 2, and in to score is Sam Molsky for run number 9 for Stevens Point Sixers. and they lead the game 9-1. Kenny Opiola in the batter's box. He has 2 hits, 2 runs scored so far this evening for the Sixers. Takes the first pitch for a ball. Number 9 hitter, designated hitter for pitcher Jesse Hamas. Scrappy little player from Pacelli. Ball hit foul. 2 balls, 1 strike on Kenny Opiola. Pitch is taken for ball 3.
Come on, Kenny.
Pitch taken for ball 4. Kenny Opiola draws a walk. Moves down to first as Brian Oles comes to the plate. Oles with a base hit, his first time up, or not his first time up, but about his 3rd time up. He scored a run this evening. This is probably the time to mention that the rest of the players that are on the rosters of both of these fine teams that have not been able to get in the game. For Plover, we have Chris Olson. Tim Wenzel, believe is hurt tonight. Mike Glenn, Fritz Becker, Mark Blinker, Jeff White, Jason Wade, I know is also hurt. Scott Torrey. Fine Plover team, and they're certainly going to be reckoned with in this Southern Division chase for the title. And for the Sixers, Jesse Pfluger and Dave Janis Whiskey, Kevin Koback, and Chris Wurzba. And I'm sorry about any mispronunciation of the names, but that doesn't take away the fact that there are a lot of good ball players on this field, and it's fun to watch a game that involves 2 good teams. It's now a full count on Brian Oles. And Brian walks. Brings up Brian Nelson. Nelly with 2 hits, sacrifice fly, and reach first on an error. Brian Nelson, the batter. Scott Torrey is a new Plover pitcher plays at Amherst. Jeff Weinkoff pitched a fine game, threw a lot of pitches, and it was time. Ball 1 on Nelson. There's a ball hit. Ball hit down towards second base. Gloved by the second baseman and force out at second for out number 3. But in the inning, Spash scores 1 run. There was a double by Dan Portson, and the score is 9-1. Scott Torrey leading off for Plover. Top of the 8th, facing Jesse Hamas. Swings and misses at the first strike. First pitch. Chris Simonson playing first base for the Sixers. And Scott Hawley moving out to right field. Torrey swings and misses for strike 2. Jesse Hamas has had complete control of this ball game so far. There's a pitch that's kind of out of the strike zone, but it swung at and fouled back. I'll make mention here that July 6th, there will be a rematch of this Plover Sixer ball game to be held out in Plover. And whatever happened tonight means nothing, as that'll be another game, another time. Scott Torrey falls out to Chris Simonson for out number 1.
First baseman
Wayne Sankey is the batter for Plover. Wayne with a base hit and a base on balls to his credit this evening. Jesse Hamas had a little bit of control problem in the mid-innings, but he seems to have worked his way out of that. And when Jesse's on, he's tough to hit. Wayne swings and fouls it off. 1 ball, 1 strike. Pitch taken by Wayne Sankey for ball 2. I hope everybody realizes that this is all a volunteer situation for the cameraman, which is Daryl Hawley, which does a fine job, and myself, which doesn't do quite as good a job, but we're together and we do what we can do. Wayne fouled that pitch back. It's 2-2 on the Plover first baseman. Three and two. Wayne's dad, Ron, has been general manager of the Plover team for a lot of years and done a very, very fine job. Wayne hits one high in the air. And Jesse Hamas comes all the way from the pitcher's mound to the fence to make the grab for out number 2.
This was one was cold.
Good hustle by Jesse. Chris Simonson was there, that he could have made the grab also, and
for the Black Sox.
And
Number 24, Fritz
Dan Portson
Becker.
also was there,
Becker,
so
the pinch hitter.
he was well covered, and Jesse elected to make the grab. Fritz Becker is a pinch hitter for Plover. He's up there with 2 outs and nobody on. Pinch hitting for Craig Sankey. Craig was 0 for 3 in the ball game. Fritz takes ball 1. 1 ball, no strikes. Swing and a foul. 1-1. 2 outs, nobody on for Plover in the top of the 8th inning. And I keep reiterating, it's such a nice night for a ball game. Pitch taken for a ball. 2 balls, 1 strike. There's a swing and a miss. Curveball by Jesse had Fritz fooled. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Pitch taken high. Count is full. 3-2. Ball 4, taken by Fritz Becker. Puts a Plover runner on first with 2 outs. We have another pinch hitter for the Black Sox. It's Mike Glenn, who's batting for Nick Wallen. Finds himself up there with 2 outs, runner on first.
Way to shoot, Jess. Way to shoot, buddy.
First pitch from Jesse Hamas is a called strike. 1 strike on pinch hitter Mike Glenn. Swing and a miss.
Way to shoot, Jess.
0-2 on Mike Glenn. Pitch is taken, but called strike 3. And in the inning for Plover, no runs, no hits, no errors. 1 guy left on base, and we're going to the bottom of the 8th with Stevens Point leading 9-1. Kevin Kolbach is a pinch hitter for the Sixers for Jamie Holzer. He hits the first pitch out into left field. It's caught by Tony Ostring for out number 1. Scott Torrey remains on the mound for Plover.
Your attention, please. Pinch hitting for the Sixers, number 38, Dave Januszewski. Pinch hitting.
Dave Januszewski is another pinch hitter for the Sixers. Batting in Scott Hawley's spot. Took the first pitch for a ball. Hits the second pitch foul down the first base line. Januszewski up there with 1 ball, 1 strike. Sophomore from Spash. Up there with a chance to make a little bit of a name for himself, to make something happen. But he swings and misses for a strikeout. It's 2 outs and nobody on.
Your attention, please. Pinch hitting for post 6, number 17, Jesse Flugar. Jesse Flugar, the pinch hitter.
Jesse Fluger is a pinch hitter for Shannon Lester. Jesse from Pacelli takes the first pitch for a strike. 1 strike. Swings and misses for strike 2. 2 strikes. Fluger hits one out toward right center. Center fielder moves over to make the grab, and that is Jeff White. And I neglected to say at the start of the inning that he had taken over for
3 down, guys.
for Wallen in center field. He makes the grab for out number 3. So we move to the 9th. It's 9-1 Sixers. Casey Brzezinski batting for Plover in the top of the 9th. Jesse Hamas trying to go the full 9 innings for the Sixers. Casey takes ball 1. Pitch high for ball 2. Two balls and no strikes on Casey Brzezinski. Second baseman. Casey takes a good cut. Comes up empty. It's 2-1. 2 balls, 1 strike. He should be a real force next year in the pitching staff of Coach George Roman's Spash team. He can throw the ball very hard. Two and two. Top of the 9th. Stevens Point post 6. ahead 9-1 over post 5-4-3 in Plover as Brzezinski takes called strike 3.
Shortstop, Ryan Kudreski.
Brings up Ryan Kudreski. Kudreski had a base hit back in the first inning and since then had a base on balls. So he's 1 for 3. Takes first pitch for a strike. 1 strike. Jesse Hamas on the mound for the Sixers. Swing and a miss. Strike 2. Swing and a miss for strike 3. 2 strikeouts in a row for Jesse. The last hope of Plover.
Third baseman, Sam
Krieger. Sam's 0 for 4 tonight. It's a ball foul. 1 strike on Sam Krieger. The last hope of the Black Sox. Swings and misses for strike 2. 2 outs in the top of the 9th. 2 strikes on Sam Krieger, Black Sox third baseman. Pitch is taken by Sam, but called strike 3, and the ball game is over.
Nothing across. Here are the final totals for tonight's game.
Stevens Point post 6 is the winner.
3-0 in the Valley.
9-1
3-2 on the
over post 5-4-3 in Plover. 9 runs on 7 hits and 2 errors.
7 men left on
Plover with 1 run,
pitcher Jesse Hamas.
3 hits, 5 errors,
Post 543. Now 1-1
and
in the Valley. 4-3.
Stevens
overall.
Point wins the first game.
3
Jesse
hits.
Hamas, the winning pitcher. Jeff Weinkoff,
10
the
men
losing
left on
pitcher.
base. Losing pitcher Jeff Weinkoff. Time of the game was 2 hours and 40 minutes. Thank you all for attending, and please drive home safely.
From Bucco Park, have a good evening, and we'll see you back in Plover on July 6th for a rematch, which I'm sure will be a very, very good game.